Well, folks, welcome to the cutting edge. Some commenters over on my multi-shot video have suggested that there are a few important things that I left out, and so of course, what am I going to do? I'm going to make another video. Let's talk about the things that I left out of that video and should have included. The first thing that I've been accused of leaving out of that video is a more explicit notification that this is experimental beta firmware, and if you run it on your ESCs, there is a better than normal chance that you'll burn something. And that, I mean, I guess I kind of thought that went without saying when you do the load other firmware, but on the other hand, you're right. I mean, people trust me as a source for this information, and if I'm up here saying, look, here's what you do, then people might think it's a good idea and just sort of blithely follow along. I was pretty excited about the performance of this setup and may have gotten carried away in my desire to share this information. So what I gave you was instructions for how to upgrade to multi-shot if you wanted to, but I didn't give you the commensurate safety warnings that should go along with it. And hopefully, well, I say hopefully you can tell that this is a beta feature and that there are risks involved. But especially as my audience gets bigger, that may not be true. So I dutifully accept the slap on the wrist, and I now officially warn you. And I've also added annotations to the video and description. I officially warn you that especially if you're running on an F330 ESC, there is some risk that this using multi-shot, especially at higher motor update rates, will damage the ESC or maybe even light your whole copter on fire, burn your house down, kill your puppy, and your wife will leave you, and yeah, etc. Okay, so now you've been warned. The other question that was raised, and this is a really interesting one, and I thank the user who raised this question. He is the publisher of this website, which I'm going to now refer to. The question that was raised is, does it even matter? I went to multi-shot, I went to betaflight 2.7, and I went to 4 kilohertz at the same time because that's how I tend to do things. When I'm being like super scientific, I'll change one thing and see what the result is. But this was an example of, well, I'm building a new copter. Let's just do the latest and greatest and see what happens. And oh my God, it was amazing. But that was not a very scientific approach. And it's unclear, did betaflight 2.7 make the difference? Or was it 4 kilohertz? Or was it multi-shot? Or some combination of the three? And this user's argument is that unless you are running at faster than 2 kilohertz motor update rates, multi-shot doesn't really provide any difference. So the basic advantage of multi-shot is that it uses shorter pulse lengths, which means you can do faster update frequency. You follow? And we can see that one shot can actually go to 4 kilohertz. It can't quite get to 4 kilohertz because basically at 4 kilohertz the signal is on all the time, and that's not good. You lose timing. But you can go almost to 4 kilohertz, or you can actually go all the way to 4 kilohertz if you do a thing called short calibrating your ESCs, which I won't get into. But the point is that if you're running at 2 kilohertz motor update rate, then one shot can easily handle 2 kilohertz. Okay? And the argument that this user makes is that when you set loop time in Betaflight to 250, when you just set loop time equals 250, Betaflight sets itself up so that the PID loop is running at 4 kilohertz, but the motor update is only running at 2 kilohertz. And the reasons for that are outside the scope of this discussion, but that's what it is. So in fact, if you follow my multi-shot video and do exactly what I did, you will be running multi-shot, but you will not be running at 4 kilohertz motor update rate. You'll be running at 4 kilohertz gyro sync, and there is some advantage to that, but that advantage has to do with the PID loop and the gyro. You can get that same advantage by running one shot if your motor update rate is 2 kilohertz. So if you actually want to feel any difference that is attributable to multi-shot, you need to go to a 4 kilohertz update rate. And you do that by playing with the PID process denom. And the way this works is the gyro rate is 8 kilohertz. And then the gyrosync denom controls how fast the gyro data is actually read. So in this case, it's 8 kilohertz divided by 2 is 4 kilohertz. And then the PID process denom is a divisor of this rate, which controls how fast the motors are updated. And in this case, I've set my PID process denom to 1, which means my gyro sync is 8 divided by 2 equals 4 kilohertz, and my PID process denom is 4 divided by 1 equals 4 kilohertz. But that is not how Betaflight sets itself up by default when you set loop time equals 250. It sets the PID process denom to 2, which then results in a 2 kilohertz motor update rate, at which point there is no advantage to running multi-shot over one-shot, except that you get the cool Imperial March startup tone, which I think we all agree is well worth it. So, if you want to know more about this topic, check out this page right here, and everyone will say, oh, put a link down in the video description, and I will forget to do that. And then people will say, where's the link? And I'll say, it's right here, just read it. It's not that complicated. Gosh, people, just type it out. No, okay, I'll put it in the description. You can read more about gyrosync denom and PID process denom here, if you like. And you know what? You should, because we're in the cutting edge here. And if you don't understand this stuff, then maybe you should just go back to the standard BLHeli and wait for your ESCs to not light on fire. Instead of me describing it and making it easy, it's not that complicated. Just do a little reading. You'll be fine. Alrighty, well, as always, thank you for watching. Please don't burn your copter down, burn your house down, kill your puppy, and then blame me. I disclaim all responsibility for whatever you might do with this incredibly dangerous hobby. But in the meantime, happy flying.